On this episode of Best Barbecue, I sit down with owner and creator of Backline Fabrications, Ryan Newland. We talk about his history and why he's so obsessed with building barbecue pits. Thank you for watching the Best Barbecue Show. Yeah, we're at the edges of Austin, approaching
Southwest.
Dripping Springs, and I'm here with Ryan from Backline Fab, one of the most interesting fabricators, I think, in Austin right now. He does make barbecue smokers, but he's made sets for Katy Perry and made all kinds of devices for Lady Gaga, has done some pretty amazing work. I'm sure we'll get into that, but welcome, Ryan.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. It's cool to see. You know, when I first met you, I didn't realize that you had this crazy background of building, you know, sets. And what would you call the thing you built for Lady Gaga? Like a
Which
robotic
one?
platform?
That floating dress?
Yeah.
Yeah, we call it the floating dress.
The floating dress.
Yeah, but that was done through our company out in California that I worked for.
And so, I mean, you're focusing more on the barbecue pits now, or how did you get into building pits?
Yeah, it's pretty much the mainstream of where Backline's going. You know, we'll still dabble in the entertainment when it comes to South by and or if another tour comes up or something. But yeah, we started, we, meaning me. If you notice, I got a big crew walking around this place.
Yeah, it's real busy.
So, yeah, I started barbecue basically back in L.A. When I was living there, and my buddy was always barbecuing stuff, and I decided I wanted to barbecue some stuff, and instead of buying a smoker, I decided to build one. And then that kind of started the passion. Then when I moved out here, I was in the process of building an upgraded version, which is the one you've seen outside, good old Spidey out there. And then we did a couple competitions with it, and we won a competition, a non-sanctioned event, but we still won, so we were pretty proud of that, me and my buddy. And then that turned on the craze of building smokers. So then it was a hobby, and now it's a business.
So, was the first smoker you built was a vertical?
No, it was a horizontal with the firebox from below. It's just basically a straight feed. And it was a 55-gallon oil drum.
Oh, that's the one that's sitting out on the side.
I got rid of it.
Oh, you got rid of it
weeks ago.
completely?
Yeah.
Nice. So it used to be
The
sitting
junk
out the
man
side.
took it. So yeah, it's gone. Unfortunately,
It's a good price for scrap these days,
no, not at all. So
but I'm sure it's not cheap to buy all these tanks.
no, it depends where you get them from. Some people are really proud of them, and some people just want them off their property. So it's finding the right people.
The latter sounds like it's the better move. You got to find the people that are just looking for someone to haul it away.
Yep.
And I mean, with barbecue and pit builders and everything growing, there probably is you just find yourself kind of looking at fields and trying to spot pits in random places as you drive around.
Yeah, and I think that's just been ever since I had the passion for the barbecue. It's just you're always looking around for other people's pits and see what they got out there, and looking for potential builds, which is looking for the tanks and all that good stuff. But a lot of searching on Craigslist and Marketplace, I'll tell you that.
Well, and you're also, you have a kind of a foot in two different doors, because a lot of the Texas barbecue guys don't know a lot of the competition guys and vice versa. But you kind of, like, you got a Jay Tinney hat on right now.
Yes, sir.
And, he's a friend of the show, and I've gone back and forth to competitions. It's interesting the way that the scene changes, and it's cool to see that you're creating pits for competition guys where a lot of them are using pellet smokers or, Weber Smoky Mountains or just big closets.
Yeah. It's nice for, some of the guys that really wanted to stick with the old stick burner. A lot of guys in competition that I know, they're tried and true, and they think the pellet grills and all that aren't really smoking food, but I'm not gonna lie, I own one. I have a Traeger and I love it. I mean, I don't compete with it. When I do competitions, I always break out old faithful Spidey when I feel like going through a cord of wood just in a competition. So.
Yeah, I was going to say our friend Ted Rutherford the other day when you had one of your pit unveilings was talking about that thing eats wood pretty fast, huh?
Yeah, it was eating it pretty good. We finished off his what did he have in there? think he had his pork loin or something in there. We had to finish that off, so it would be ready for everyone to enjoy.
Well, and speaking of, you throw these really fun parties whether it's a small competition pit or a 1,000-gallon restaurant pit. You do this awesome event where you kind of display the pit. I've been here when it's kind of already hooked up, where you've taken the forklift out and put it onto the trailer. It's cool to watch kind of the giveaway, the handoff.
Yeah.
Was that just something you like to do, or?
Yeah, it was something that I thought of it just kind of came out of nowhere, and I was thinking, man, it's really cool that these people are spending a lot of money, to buy these barbecues, and some of them, none of this stuff is a necessity. It's not like food and water and all that. I mean, these are wants, and you don't need them to survive. So for people to spend the kind of money that all these pit builders are charging for these pits, I figured I'd throw them a party when they come pick it up, just to show appreciation. And some of the people are coming from out of state, so it allows them to come in and meet people like you and Jay Tinney and all these other guys that run around in the Texas barbecue scene, even farther than Texas barbecue scene. So a lot of people, when they leave here, they leave with more friends than anything, which is basically what I'm trying to do, is just make the circle bigger. I think it's a good gesture to the customers.
Well, and or I guess not last week, 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was a guy from Oklahoma. He got that green pit.
Yep.
They were pretty cool, and they brought
They're
you.
really cool.
You kind of traded. They brought you some pieces too, right?
Yeah. They brought me some ball valve drains and some elbows that, for some reason, I can't find them inexpensive out here in Texas, and they brought me some from Oklahoma, and worked out real nice.
And you've got people. I know you got people hitting you up all the time. I think we were talking about. You said someone that's like in another country was hitting you up to try to build a pit. Is it?
Yeah.
Have you noticed with the parties that there's kind of this influx of, hey, we want one too?
Yeah, it's been growing. Well, because we've only been really pushing the smoker thing on our business for maybe 6-7 months. I mean, we've been building them, but now it's like we're full-fledged trying to push this as the main business. So since we've been doing that, we've been getting a lot more interest. But yeah, these parties and all the social media, as you climb up in social media, people start noticing you from different deals, like depending on if they're searching their own hashtags and one of your pits pop up or however, and then they're like, well, now we need to know how much these cost. Can we get them here or whatever. So yeah, I just had a guy hit me up in Canada, so we'll see how that goes.
You think he'll come down to pick it up, or are we going to do like a?
I would hope so. That'd be a pretty rad party.
Yeah, right. Or just give it away as we're loading it into a crate.
Right. Set it up on a semi truck and wave.
We'll
have a party for him.
What's the furthest one of your pits has gone at this point?
It's just Oklahoma.
That's
all
the
my other
furthest
stuff.
one?
Yeah, all my other stuff has been pretty local.
But you've got a lot of friends here in Texas, and I mean, there's a gaggle of photographers at this point. Dog Fathers, Ted Rutherford, and a few others that we're always kind of zipping around trying to get video. I jumped on the forklift the other day to try to get a cool shot of you moving that pit around.
Yeah.
It's a really fun party, and I've been chasing the really fun people in barbecue lately, and I've been finding, like, I ran into Matt's Barbecue from Portland a few weeks ago, and they just have a great vibe. They've got their own little hooting and hollering that they do when they're excited about something. They kind of whistle from across the bar to each other, and like they just have that cool vibe, and it's fun because you create that vibe, and you have kind of that crew that, Brotherton's picking up a pit here this weekend. We had the Oklahoma guys. We had Barbecue Coop.
And John Barton, the competition guy.
John Barton came. And, every time there's kind of a different group of people, but there's also kind of, you're building this core of guys that are at every pickup.
Yeah, that's it's really cool when you get people keep coming by, and even some of it's awesome when you have one of your customers that already had a pit pickup party for themselves when they come down or up from wherever they're coming from, and they get to experience and help somebody else get that same experience that they got. So we had CRJ Barbecue, Chance Morton. He came down all the way from Dallas and he was at Barton's pickup party. He had to miss this last one. I think he's trying to come down for Brotherton's also, which would be pretty cool.
That'd be super fun.
Yeah.
And you also, I mean, not just offset pits. You have kind of a line that you created now. You've got the Multitool.
Yep, that's our live fire, one of our live fire rigs.
So that's kind of the end of a pit, like a nice, almost like a little fire
like a tank
pit.
head, yeah, fire pit style.
Tank head, that's the
Yeah.
word. You put the tank head, then there's like a grate, and then a plancha, and then these chains that you can hang other stuff with. I mean, it really is a multi-tool.
Yeah.
How many things you can cook at once on there? Like a dozen?
Well, right now, I mean, yeah, you can cook a lot on there because the surface is quite big, and the grill surface itself takes up the whole diameter of the tank head. So if you push the plancha out of the way, because everything pivots out of the way, just like a Swiss Army knife, that's where we get the multi-tool
Gotcha.
deal from. So you just push stuff out of the way if you need a full cooking grate, but then you could also move stuff over to half that cooking grate, put the plancha back in, preheat that plate, and then you could start, searing things or heating up tortillas, depending on what you're serving.
Oh, I see. So you can heat the plancha and then pull it off to have more cooking area.
Yeah.
Ah.
Swivel it out of the way. And at the same time, you have the chains where if you were doing a chili or something, you can hang a Dutch oven off of the chains and just drop it, pretty well. You can only go with the cooking grate in the way you can only go to the cooking grate, but you can literally set it on there, hang it up a little bit, so you can still move it. So you can change, put your fire in there, stoke the fire.
Or you could throw your Dutch oven in
Right
there under the grate.
Yep.
Wow. We're gonna have to do like a shoot one day of just the 7,000 ways you can set it up and all the different foods and.
Yeah, the one we made for the one that has been on a bunch of pictures and videos already is for Rossler's Blue Cord Barbecue. It's actually sitting here today. That thing, it still is getting a couple more components that we haven't quite put on yet. We're going to wait until we have it really dialed in on what Rossler's needs are going to be, but he's definitely going to get an iron cross built onto there too. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It'd be pretty sweet.
So that he can
could
just
do a
flip
whole,
it in?
Yeah, he could do a whole animal on there, and the cool part about that is if you're doing a hog or whatever, you'll still be able to use your cooking grate, so you can let all that nice pig juice drip on and brine your other food, whatever you're cooking below.
Yeah. Elliott Moss would appreciate that. He does a lot of he has these tiny cookers, not that different from the ones you built at Bangers.
Mm-hmm.
Like the big coffin top closes. But what he'll do is he'll have the hog, and then he'll even put ribs over that with some grates, and then he'll put a pan. He'll put pans of green beans and whatever, so he's catching all those
Nice.
drippings.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have a lot of space, so it's cool to see. You even though we're in Texas and you could have built this giant thing, it's smarter because now that thing can go on the back of a truck. You can cook for at least 50 people with that thing, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. We did 2 pickup parties ago. Rossler, he did all the cooking for our events because at our events we offer free food with our guest cooks. So he cooked on it and did pork chops and a bunch of other stuff. I think we had probably 40 plus people. You came to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's probably 40 plus people here, throughout the time, and he cooked on it no problem. And actually he did a pop-up with it, I would say 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, and he was on it all day, and they moved hundreds of people through the line. So,
wow.
Yeah. But he was just constantly
Steak? What was he cooking?
Well, he had brisket on, but what he was doing is cutting the brisket and then building them in tacos. But as he was building tacos, he was really using that plancha plate a lot. So he'd put his tortilla down, his sauce on there, and then basically sear the brisket as he was putting it on. I'm probably way off of what I'm saying, but that's what it looked like to me. Hey, I was there. I was there just drinking cider and keeping the fire lit for him because he was pretty busy. But they moved a lot of people through the line.
Well, and speaking of people coming here, there's also you have some cool neighbors. You got Frankly Vodka,
Yeah.
Twisted X is down the street, and a lot of them will bring beer and kind of supply the party as well, which is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. Frankly, they always supply our vodka for us. And actually at Brotherton's reveal party, we're going to do another Bloody Mary bar. Treaty Oaks is coming, the whiskey distillery. They're right down the street from us. They're coming with their pickup truck and a keg full of their mixed cocktails, so they'll be pouring right out the truck, which is pretty cool. And Yeah, usually Hunter over at Twisted X, he supplies our beer for us. We drink the Pitmaster over here usually, and it's a good time.
Yeah, it's a great time. I'm sitting here getting hungry and thirsty just about Sunday because it's coming up. I mean, I guess
It's coming up
3
quick.
days,
Yeah.
so it's not that far off. And this rig that's right behind you, this is your rig, right? This is going to be your loaner pit.
Be the shop pit, yeah. And yeah, we'll give it out to people who either want to see what it's like cooking on one of my machines, or if they're in a pinch and they need more room or whatever, then they can come borrow it or rent it, or however we work it out. Or it's still got some time on it. Actually, it's going on its first run at the end of the month. Trey Sanchez of Vaqueros Texas Barbecue is coming down from Dallas, and he's going to use it at the end of the month for a wedding that he's doing. So it'll be just the smoker. It won't have the other bells and whistles that are going on the trailer on it. But
yeah, but it sounds like eventually you're gonna build it into kind of a whole bunch of stuff, right?
yeah, it'll have a multi-tool on it. It'll have one of my Santa Maria grills, probably the same size of the one that we have sitting over here, 2 foot by 5 foot, which is pretty much the biggest that I make so far, because then the price will really jet up once you go past a certain size, because now you're cutting your sheets of material the other way. Now you're losing a lot more material, so you have to buy it twice as much at that point. So they're sticking around the 5 foot because we could buy 5 by 10 material.
Well, and you have a bunch of cool stuff. I mean, you've done all kinds of special stuff for bangers, right?
Yeah, we got their hog boxes, like you said before, the little coffins, the little pig coffins, and they have a 7-foot vertical smoker that I built also. It's an offset vertical.
And you also helped DD's, which is a really famous Thai food truck.
Yep.
And they have what's a rotisserie?
He's got a 9-spit chicken rotisserie. It's I want to say, if I remember correctly, it sits 11 feet long, and it's 3 feet from front to back. So the chicken spits are all 3 foot deep. So I think he fits four Yardbirds on there at a time per spit.
Per spit.
Yeah.
So
Has huge potential of doing a ton. So I think he's only running like 4 spits, and he only does them on Saturday. So it's like a specialty thing.
yeah, it sounds like he needs to throw a party and get that whole thing running.
He needs to, and we need some of that chicken. It's really good.
Yeah, I've been over there a couple times, but I need to go back because
Have you not had it yet?
I've had the chicken, but it was like I went and got it and didn't realize it was a while back when they were at the other location.
Oh, yeah, 6th Street or whatnot.
Yeah. And I got it, and then I was like, this was so freaking good. And then I went back, and they were like already done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't really get that I was like getting something special. So I need to go back and get like a whole bird or
deal.
something.
Yeah. The cool part about building them, I took over on the pit. He had a bunch of issues go down with whoever was making it originally. So it kind of got dropped in my lap, and like, can you resolve this problem? And it was like, yeah, we'll take care of it. And he came by and kept doing test cooks on it so we could change things or whatnot. So the cool part about that is I got to eat all the food.
Yeah, right.
It was real nice.
Well, and you're not shy to fix someone else's work. Randy Estrada brought a pit here.
Yeah, correct.
And you got it totally, made it a whole new thing.
Yeah. It was at a point where, I mean, it was usable, but for me, if I was to look at it, I would say this is pretty unusable, but he was using it. He was making work with what he had. And we turned that into a pretty efficient, awesome cooking smoker now. And he actually started up his business, Estrada's Texas Barbecue, in Creedmoor. So you guys go check him out when you can. He's out there.
Is he cooking already?
He's not.
Yeah. He better tell me. I told him.
He will
I need to know your opening day, bro.
Yeah, he might do a soft opening or whatnot coming up soon. But I know his pits are already screened in at the location he's at.
Nice.
So I mean, he's like ready. If if anything, if I remember correctly, he's waiting on maybe one more permit to go through, and once that permit goes through, he can launch. So
Nice.
him physically is ready to go, but technicalities I think are holding him back.
I mean, how hard is it to get a permit run through Creedmoor? Like, is there
I have
can't be a
I
long
have
line
no
at
idea.
the city office or whatever you're going to.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
in
don't know.
Austin, there's like a whole system now. If you try to go get a permit, you got to go to this place, and they'll hold your space in line and then text you when you're like 10 from being called. So that's how insane it is.
Yeah,
and
that's
the parking
crazy.
lot is like they have like attendants making sure people
is
aren't
Creedmoor
crazy.
Hayes? So it's not up in Travis then?
I'm not sure which county it
Because
is.
if he is Travis, then he has to go through the Austin one anyway.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, then he's screwed.
Because I think you go by the county. It's either Hayes or Travis or wherever else you move into.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't pull permits.
I'll definitely check in with him. Well, no, he better tell me.
He'll ask him on Sunday. He's going to be here on
Oh,
Sunday.
yeah, that's true. Well, and he's just a hustler. I mean, I ran into him. It's funny because I was going to get barbecue around the holidays, and he kept showing up to these places because he was doing tamales.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he's
He was
a
dropping
badass.
them off for you?
Yeah. Well, they weren't
Yeah.
even for me. I just kept running into him on his
Oh,
tamale
yeah.
drops, and they just happened to be where I was. And I was like, damn, I should have ordered some of these tamales.
Yeah, he did me solid, man. I cooked pork butt, and I shredded it all up for what I wanted, and then he actually came and picked up the pork butt from me, and he made me 5 dozen tamales, and then brought them back, and they're good.
Boom.
Yeah, they do something to the matzah. It's not normal. I mean, you could put whatever meat in there. I'm not saying that they were good because of what I cooked, but the way that they do that matzah is on point. Those Estrada guys, they got it down, him and his wife, Tessa.
Well, don't you think it's interesting that the way I think that a lot of foods, when you go into a kitchen or you go into a fancy restaurant, you get a nice steak. It's magical, right? It's nice because you're like, wow, they really turned this into something. But barbecue and some of these other tamales, some of these foods are like alchemy. It's like I don't even know, how did you turn ground up corn into this delicious thing? How did you turn this tube into a something that cooks amazing barbecue? I mean, it still takes a good cook, but
Yeah.
I really think it's beautiful to see the magic or the alchemy, the complication of barbecue, because it's not something I can show you how to cook a steak, but cooking a brisket, I'm still trying to get that quite right.
I think 90% of the people are still trying to get it right. I mean, everything changes so often, and depending on what pit you're using or what wood you have or everything. I mean, your variables change on a daily when it comes to any of that stuff. So that's why when everyone builds their pits, all the big guys out there, Mobergs, Mill Scales, Big Phils, AJ, myself,
Close.
yeah, everyone, we all try to make an efficient pit. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of our pits, I don't think. They all run efficient. They're all good, So it's like we're supplying the equipment. So you're right. It's kind of up to the cook to figure out their tool. Just because you drive a Ferrari doesn't mean you're going to win the race,
Exactly. Well, and my buddy's got this 500-gallon pit. Shout out to the Smoke Trail. And I've now cooked a couple briskets with him, and I take them too long, or I just keep it. I don't even screw it up a lot. I just screw it up a little bit, and it's just enough. The middle's good. There's tons of good bites in there, but it's not a whole thing.
So many variables.
Well,
But also, if you were running your own 500, if you owned it and you were cooking on it all the time, you're going to figure it out pretty easy. Some of these guys, they just, I know a lot of guys, they all run Mobergs, and they just go in, light the fire, and they kind of walk away, and they just have it figured out, I mean, it runs itself, so it's like, it's a good deal.
Well, and is there a challenge to? I know you do test runs and things on these pits. Is there a challenge to keeping the heat even, or are you seeing yourself tweaking things depending on how they cook?
I kind of go off of single design on the inside, the way that I've been doing them, and they run pretty even all the way across. I mean, your uppers will run usually about 50 degrees hotter than my lowers, and that's only over an 8 or 9 inch span. So it was unbelievable to me the first time we fired that up, and I saw that, being so new to the game, I guess you could say. I would not expect 9 inches, 50 degrees over 9 inches, but that's what happens. But that 50 degrees will travel from one end to the other and stay pretty, consistent. and the bottoms stay pretty good too. I made a really long 500-gallon, same diameter as this 375 for Dustin Putska of the Putska's Family Barbecue. He said he ran that thing for 3 days at Coke Fest, and he said all 3 days from the firebox to the stack, he said he varied 7 degrees.
Wow.
So I figured that was pretty good.
Yeah, and that's almost crazy to think. People talk about hot spots, and you still learn there's little tiny pieces, but it's cool to see that it's so even. Do you put a ton of gauges on yours, or some people just put like one at the end or one at the top, or
Yeah, some people that cook, they don't even use the gauges. They don't even reference them. These guys have it down to a science. But I'll just put in as many gauges as, for one, the customer wants or needs. But if I do double racks, then each level next to each door gets a gauge. Unless I'm doing a competition pit, I do single doors and they're really long, so you get 2 gauges on the door.
oh, actually on the door.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Only on the comp in the backyards, because I take up almost the whole surface of the pit as the door.
Yeah, it's a big door, and there's no counterweight.
No, Barton has a counterweight.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess he did.
Yeah, he had
I
that
had to think about
counterweight.
that.
Yeah.
But you're not a fan of the counterweights.
I'm not a big fan.
You think it affects the seal, or just
No,
out of principle,
no,
or what?
It's just a pain in the butt to put them together. It's like you're dealing with a heavy weight. You're trying to. I'm a one-man show, so it's like I don't have. Hey, Bill, come over here and hold this real quick while I tack it on.
Yeah, but you got some cool lifts and stuff that can hold it for you.
Yeah,
A lot of
sometimes
third and fourth hands.
they're busy holding up another pit, so it's
Yeah, exactly.
so that could be challenging. But I just don't like the way they look, because I like all my pits real streamlined. You can't notice on this one, but you'll notice on Brotherton's and all the other pits and Ted Rutherford's that'll be done soon. Is I cut all the mumbo jumbo off, all the hooks are off, all the bungs are off, everything's off, and I smooth them out. And that's just part of my style that I like. I don't like to have things sticking up, and it just needs to look sleek. If it's not nice and clean, then it's not one of my pits.
Well, and I honestly I'm not a huge fan. I haven't really lifted a door with a counterweight that I really like. It often feels like it's not like it might close back down on you. Oftentimes I end up opening it too fast because you expect it to be heavier, and I like the door to kind of have some weight because it'll really seal up, and you won't get one tiny little bit of smoke coming out. It'll all come out the right end.
Yeah, the one we did for Barton, it has that nice heavy lift, I guess, as you start, and then the counterweight will kick over. It's pretty balanced. It's balanced pretty well. For weight purposes, you still, like I said, you still have some weight, but once you come past that one tipping point, obviously the counterweight takes over and takes the door with it. But I don't know. Did you say you were at Barton's? I don't remember.
Yeah,
the gray one.
The gray one with the red.
Yeah. So his
the Boomer.
No, the Boomer was before that.
Oh, the Boomer was before that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, the gray one, and then he. So his wife. So I don't know if you saw her. She's tiny, so she had to be able to lift that door. So that's why we went with the counterweight.
Oh, right. That was the one with the really nice paint job.
Yeah.
Where it almost looked 3-dimensional because you put so many layers of
Yeah.
paint.
Yeah.
That was super cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that.
And you're more of like an engineer fabricator than really a pit builder, so you can bring all of that knowledge to this, where you can add these little touches. You can make sure it's more thought out than someone who might just be welding tubes together.
Yeah. There's a lot of my background that I picked up on that allows me to do a couple of things that the average Joe can't do. We're not building rockets here. anyone can do it, but
It looks kind of like a rocket.
right. I incorporate, like on my Santa Marias, I do chains and gears, and same thing at Bangers. I did all their stuff with roller chain and sprockets for me, just because it looked cool. But a lot of people won't go through the effort. It's expensive, and it's kind of a pain because you got to line everything up, and it's not just a cable wrapping around a tube like normal. So
Well, and you you understand 12-volt systems and electronics, and I kind of want to pick your brain about rewiring my motorcycle, but you also made this cool pit that runs on a little electric. You took a Moberg
Yeah.
and you put it on like an electric cart, so the guy can just kind of walk his pit around like a dog.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how it works. It's pretty heavy though. We maxed that motor out pretty much. My math on the pit wasn't quite right, but it goes. It still needs a little bit of help getting into his toy hauler because it is so heavy, but it works.
Yeah, as long as he stops giving people rides on it.
He definitely gives people rides on it.
I've seen the videos.
It's a good show. It's a cool. That was a cool little wagon though.
Well, and all these things have, in a normal place, you'd have to hire a guy to build that. You'd have to source out 2 or 3 people, where you can just do all that stuff yourself. It's kind of cool that, you walk in here and it looks like just a normal welding shop, but you've got some boards for building sets, and you do a lot of work at South by Southwest sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yep. So far, every year that we've been open, we've been doing quite a bit of stuff for South by. Waiting to see what falls in this year. We're getting there.
It's getting close.
Yeah,
like
close.
A month away.
Yeah.
And they don't give you a lot of notice, huh? They just call you up.
Sometimes a week, sometimes 2 weeks. If you're lucky, you get a month.
And I mean, I'm guessing there's no pickup parties during South by. You're gonna be going nuts in here.
We'll see. There's a couple guys chomping at the bit for theirs. So we'll see if we can get them done in time.
Do you think you'll ever stop doing the fabrication and just do the pits? You're ever just gonna see like, sorry, South by, can't do it?
I don't think so, because I really love that part, and that's actually why I opened this company up, and that's where the Backline name comes from. Because Backline, to anybody that's from this town or anywhere that knows anything about music, is the backlines are the guys that are behind the scenes that are, wiring up all the instruments and microphones and lighting and all that kind of stuff. And so I named the company after that style, because we were so into, one of my passions was doing all the world tour, the stage props and stuff.
Yeah.
So it made sense. And then people in the industry, it kind of doesn't make sense to them, because they hear Backline, they think we're going to wire up, microphones and stuff. But the fabrication part added it to where, I build stage props. So it made sense to me. And I mean, the name sticks, and there's a lot of people that know what we're about. So
Do you have a favorite story of some pyrotechnic or crazy props that you got to build?
Oh man, the list is too long. The list is definitely
Just
too long.
pluck
on
one
props.
out. Tell us a story.
Well, we can go to Super Bowl. This wasn't done through Backline, but I built it through the company we worked at in LA, and we took a mobility cart. You know what the mobility carts are? The little
Mobility
jazzy four-wheel wagon, or the little scooters. So we took one of those, and we pulled everything out of it except just it was a raw shell, and we modified the rear axles, we modified the front axles, we put a 125cc 2-stroke motor in it, and we had to run the exhaust, everything. Then we put the shell back on it so it looked like it was still one of the battery powered deals. And they had a stunt man all dressed up like an old man, and he was ripping around on that thing. It had 5 gears on it, and the brakes still had a clutch on there. We had to modify basically the whole cart.
So you built a motorcycle.
Yeah, a 4-wheel buggy. It was pretty cool, man.
I think I've seen videos of that.
Yeah, you probably have. Did I show you one at all or no?
I don't know if you had, but
they're still out there on YouTube. You can look it up, and it's a
I'll
Taco
have to
Bell
clip
teaser.
one.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
So it was a Taco Bell event?
It was the teaser to the Super Bowl Taco Bell commercial.
Did they let them rip around the field on that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't at the Super Bowl field. It was
Oh, it was a
filmed
different
It was
field.
filmed in L.A.
Gotcha. I'd say that would probably tear the field up a little bit.
It wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be.
Oh,
I'll
that's
tell you
good.
that much. And a couple digs in it when the stuntman rolled it and flipped it, but that's no big deal.
Really? He tossed. Did he take a few spills?
Oh yeah, They actually, instead of cutting them, they're actually on the footage of the commercial. They kept them.
What do you have a general sense of like top speed or anything on that thing?
We were shooting for, I want to say we were shooting for 60 miles an hour, but we didn't. I don't think we got that fast because since we stuck with the original Jazzy wheels, the sprocket was already like a quarter inch off the ground, so we couldn't really change the sprocket size to get us any faster. So we were pretty maxed out.
You did original wheels and tires too?
Yeah.
You're lucky it didn't shred those.
Yeah, we modified the axle and basically made it like a go-kart. We made a straight axle in the rear and welded the sprocket to it. And
So was that like you took it to your shop, made it, and then brought it, or were you kind of on location having to do a bunch of stuff?
no, we did it all at the shop, and that's one of those time frame things where the decisions are made on which direction the advertising company wants to go. And then I want to say we only had a week to build that cart. And,
Wow.
And that's not just including us, because it's a whole team of people. And luckily, the shop that I worked at before, we had all our fabricators, our construction workers, our sculptors, our scenic artists. Everybody was all under one roof. So it worked out super, super cool that as soon as we were done like fabricating stuff, we could send it to scenic, and then they went ahead and started, painting stuff or modifying. We could send the chassis part up to our construction shop, and they'd start cutting it apart and making sure that everything fit around the motor. So when it was all said and done, we had two next to each other. You could barely tell the difference because we had to have one where a real old man was driving in on it, and he wasn't going to go on the gas one.
Right.
And I ain't gonna lie, I flipped it at the shop. And it was
Well,
the thing had some juice, so it's pretty cool.
Well, it's not like you got a instruction manual or like you didn't get the diagram for it. You just figured it out, right?
Yeah, we had to. 95% of the stuff that in my background came from is we had to figure it out. And luckily for me, we had an awesome team of guys that really pulled through. One of my buddies, he lives out here now. He was with me, and he's super talented. His name's Dave. He was on that with us, and he knows 12 volts. He knows all the stuff. Basically, if I had to trust me leaving the shop to anybody to finish the work, if I started something and all of a sudden both my legs got broken, I couldn't do it anymore, I could call him and he would finish these and could make anything just the same way that I would.
It's cool to know. I don't know very many people I would trust to edit my videos or do any of the stuff that I do. So that's a tight dude.
Yeah, he's one of my best friends. We've been friends since I think we were 19. We used to do car stereos together back in Arizona. So
has he been at any of the parties? Have I met him?
He's been to a couple.
He's going to come on Sunday.
I don't think he's going to be in town on Sunday. But
Did he move out here to hang out with you?
I think he did, but he says he didn't. Yeah, I think he likes following me around.
Well, and you get the same but also a completely different lifestyle here. You get similar weather to the West Coast. You get a lot of those things, but now you've got big barbecue pits, a lot more space. I'm guessing where you live is probably a little more spacious than where you lived on the West Coast, right?
Yeah, for sure. We got double our square footage on a house for half the price out here, so it was.
Yeah, that's a win-win.
It was a total win-win. When we first moved out here, we moved out from an 800 square foot house out of L.A. We had a cool backyard with a pool and everything, but it literally was 800 square feet. And when we moved to Texas, we rented a house for $1,000 a month cheaper than our rent in L.A., and we moved into 2,400 square feet. So needless to say, we had to go buy some furniture because the whole house was completely empty. So
you didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah. And we lived there I think we lived in that house for a year and a half or 2 years, and then we ended up buying a house here in South Austin. So
easy enough. But it's cool because, there's a lot of people in Austin that would get mad and say, oh, too many people from the West Coast are moving here. But my thing is that there's a lot of Texans moving from other parts of Texas that aren't making Austin any better. They're just being jerks here when they were jerks over there. But I think good people talented people that have something to offer. I think it's beautiful that Austin's drawing in all these people like you that can do something super unique. And I think it's super fun because this is just every time I come here, I learn something new. I see something new. The way that even we were talking about the way you bolted down your whole system to run these rails, to use this like amazing, what is that cutter called?
That's a horizontal bandsaw.
The horizontal bandsaw that, you can adjust the speed on and it shuts itself off. Like there's so much cool gear in here that, I could probably sit here and learn all day. Maybe the next episode at Backline will be me helping you fabricate something and put me to work instead of having me stand here watching you.
We'll start with a fire pit. We'll start small.
Well, and that's the other thing is that people spend their whole lives just trying to be good welders, and what do they call it, dropping dimes or something?
Yeah,
laying dimes, stacking dimes.
Yeah.
And
I'm not 100% not one of those guys. I do it sometimes, but
is that like a different style of welding? Is that what they mean?
it's just having your machine dialed in 100%, having your material perfectly clean, and when that happens, I mean, yeah, you can lay in some real nice beads, but I mean, you saw me here today welding up some of these shelves, and you're like, why is that thing popping like that? And it's like, well, because there's still rust on the inside. I didn't go through and just clean everything out because honestly, some of that stuff gets ground down, and there's no reason to sit there and prep everything 100% when you're just going to grind it away anyway. Not for me. It's just a waste of time.
Well, and I mean, it's not like it's not like there's splatters and stuff everywhere. You make great welds.
No, yeah, the welds are still good. It's just not all the times you want to take a picture of them and zoom in on it.
Yeah, and they've got
Not
that.
for me.
I feel like some people almost like there's like that kind of rainbow to them too. Sometimes I just feel like it's like maybe that makes sense, but it feels like it takes a long time.
That's a perfect heat transfer and all that stuff. That's how you got like the perfect weld. You penetration on both pieces, and your settings or your voltage is right on your machine, and so when you're doing that, you're definitely spending time. So when we put together our fireboxes on our competition and our backyard rigs, they're all laser cut pieces of material, and so once we break into those corners and stuff. You should get some pictures of that because that's when we really stack them good on that because it's all clean material and I'm not dealing with something that had propane in it for 50 years or whatnot. I know that's not an excuse, but to me, I'm not gonna sit there and grind the inside of these tanks.
Well, it's not like you're building a bridge like it's not like this structural. It's more than enough to hold a couple 100 pounds of meat on a rack. You can
Sure.
Your racks are made so you can pull them all the way out, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Which is super cool because a lot of the other racks, if you pull them halfway out or more than halfway out, they'll just fall out.
Yeah. There's got to be a good locking system in there. So, and we do all of ours from underneath, so there's nothing up top. So if you have your briskets wrapped, your ribs wrapped, your pork butt wrapped, the last thing you want to do is puncture that because then all your juices come out. So all of our locks, I guess, that for the pivot point on that are all done from the bottom. So on top of our racks, you have nothing at all that'll catch. It's all smooth.
Well,
not smooth. I mean, it's the expanded metal, but there's nothing protruding that's gonna ruin your juice flow.
And do you sit around? You look at a lot of pits in pictures. You see a lot of the builders. Do you have any cool ideas or other things? I mean, you've got the Santa Maria, you've got the Multitool, you've got these offsets. Is there some other things you're thinking about building when you have a little bit of time, maybe after South by?
There might be some secrets in there. We'll see.
Could be.
Could be. Yep.
Well, it's just cool because I try not to, I'm not trying to put anyone else down, but there's a lot of interesting stuff here, whereas a lot of the other pit builders are just building pits, but they're sculptors in their own way, they're artists in their own way. So it's cool to see, you're trying to build this kind of multi-rig just so that you have it. I'm not going to give away the secret, but you did something unique to Brotherton's pit that, most guys might not have thought to do or might not have wanted to do. You're not going to turn something down. You'll take someone else's pit that maybe isn't quite right and you'll fix it. Whereas a lot of people would say, "Oh, well, that's not my work. I'm not going to touch it, right? And it's cool to see that, you have kind of a no nonsense objective way. That's kind of how I am. It's like people ask me if I'm upset about, other podcasts or other videos. It's like we're all in the same scene, man. Like
Yeah.
let's just all support each other. Like I'm going to do it my way, you're going to do it your way, but let's all just get along, cuz like it's more fun to be friends than to be enemies and to get mad about little stupid details that don't matter, right?
Oh, 100%. I agree with that 100%. It's a it's a small community, the barbecue scene's a small community, even though it's a big community, but it seems like everyone that you rub elbows with seems pretty cool, and there's no reason to try to make any enemies out of it. It's, like you said, it takes the fun away from it. And on these pit parties we invite everybody. We're hoping the Moberg shows up at our party. We're hoping Millscale shows up at our party. Talking to another guy, pit builder, and seeing if he's going to come to the party. It's like, why not? I'm on Instagram constantly doing instant messages or DMs or whatever they call the thing, the private message deal, and with different builders that don't have all that crazy experience, and they're asking me questions. I'm helping them. I'm walking them through different steps and stuff, because for me, I don't really care. No one's going to come through and duplicate one of my pits, and if they do, who cares? It's a propane tank. We didn't reinvent the wheel here,
Yeah.
So, but there are some small things that we do that are different than other people, and that's what makes ours, and theirs, and I don't think any of us are wrong or need to be mad at each other for anything. So,
Well, and on top of that, you're a creator and you're more worried about creating than anything else. So it's like you're just ready to do work. And that's when you see someone who really is unique, because they're not looking left to right, they're looking straight ahead. And I think that's it's the best way to get things done, because then if someone copies you, whatever, it doesn't matter, because they copied you here and you're up here. And if someone copies you here, you're always growing, so everyone can try to copy you. But if you just have one little trick and you never evolve from that, yeah, of course someone can copy that. But when you're always evolving, when you're learning, when you're pushing your limits, like, I mean, this is not a common thing to have. You said there's a 375?
375.
So 375, 3 doors, 6 racks, the firebox. Are you gonna enclose the firebox
Yeah,
too?
it'll be insulated.
It'll be square.
Squared off.
You do the break in the smokestack. You have all these things that you do your way, and it's just super cool to see. Now, the last thing I always ask people on my show is, what's your message to the enthusiasts? What's your message to people out there, whether they're welding their own thing, whether they're cooking, just people who are listening and they're inspired to try their own thing. So what's your message to people who want to, whether they want to build pits or cook on one of your awesome devices?
Well, it's kind of a loaded question. So
We can unload it.
well, I guess it's the way everyone else starts out. If you want to make your own pit, just dive in it, and you're going to make a bunch of mistakes. You're going to learn 100% on what not to do before you learn what to do. That's guaranteed. And if you need any questions or anything, just hit me up anyway, because it's like, I'll tell you what to do. I'll tell you what I do to help you get through it, because a pit you build isn't going to be, like I said, the same one I'm building. So mine's going to cook different than yours anyway. But just you got to figure out your own flow and make it your own. Just stay original, man. Just don't get on everybody else's road. I think you said it best. Just keep your head and eyes forward. I'll find myself every once in a while. I mean, Steven Rossler, he knows me the best out of anybody, I think, in this business so far, and he'll put me in check once in a while. He'll be like, "Hey, get back on the main road," because my eyes will start going sideways and stuff. And I mean, there's a lot of times where I got to take myself out of social media, because you start seeing stuff and you're like, "Oh man, I wish I thought of that first. God dang it, now I can't do it." Or because that's my theory is if I see something and it's like, I wish I thought of that, then I won't do it because somebody else already did it. I know there was some beef on our Facebook this past 2 weeks about a charcoal basket that we did, and I guess we ended up biting somebody else's design. And I apologize to the guy for that because I just went off of a picture that somebody brought me saying, "Can you build one of these?" So I built it because I'm not gonna say no. If a customer wants that in their pit, then that's what they're gonna get. If they want Mickey Mouse in their pit, they're gonna get a Mickey Mouse in their pit. That's just the way it goes, So I didn't realize.
Even catch that. So
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize that it was. I thought the guy just pulled a picture that some random. There's so many, like you were saying earlier. There's so many random dudes that just like pipe welders and stuff that just have material laying around in their property and they build smokers. So I just figured it was some guy building a smoker, but it wasn't. It was a guy who that's what he does for a living. He makes accessories for a really high end competition pit, and I guess we ended up biting his style, but I offered to pay for all the baskets that we sold, and he declined it. So, but
it didn't come from a bad intention.
No, not at all, not at all. And I explained to him too in the thing. I said, man, go through my Instagram and look at all my stuff, and for anyone listening, go on my Instagram and look at all my stuff. There's not one thing that I build that is the same. The next Multitool you'll see, it'll never look like Rosser's. It's going to be something totally different. The next Santa Maria grill isn't going to look like Treaty Oaks or Rosser's. It's going to be something different. Every pit I build is something different. And I guarantee you, when you guys see Brotherton's pit, you'll never see another one like it.
Well, strong words, wise words, a great conversation with Ryan.
I don't know about the wise part,
but thank you so much. I mean, it's really fun to hang out at the shop. It's been fun just seeing you work, and I made it this whole time without getting, what do you call it, flash burned?
Yeah.
I made it the whole time without looking at the fire, looking at the brightness.
You'll find out tonight if you get home and
right.
And you're going like this. It feels like sands in your eye.
Well, I made it this far, and I got some cool shots of you welding. People will get to see those, but it's a great shop. It's a cool space, and you're in a cool part of town. The rest of the city is moving out this way, and we'll see what happens next. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit the like button, and we'll see you for more Best Barbecue.